Welcome in, everybody, to the Real Ballz podcast. I am your host, Ryan Squires. Getting off to a couple minutes late today, but it's been a heck of a week. A lot going on in bowling this week. A lot to happen both in seminars and pro shops. A lot going on as far as just regular bowling. A lot of PBA stuff happening, but I had to kind of change my plans for the day simply because of the fact that I had a few things pop up during the week, so I wasn't able to get the small shop versus the commercial shop show done. But there is some really interesting news that's happening, and that's part of the reason that I've chose to move it to next week. But I attended a seminar recently. I went to the Brunswick seminar put on by Mike Dole and Ryan Mao, and I gotta tell you, it actually was pretty good. It was a pretty good seminar. I gotta admit, they did a really good job explaining what it was that they wanted to explain. They wanted to explain the dot technology. They wanted to explain the dynamic core going across the line and things of that nature. And they did do a good job of that. Now, with that being said, will I say it was a perfect seminar and that, above and beyond, these products are better than anything else? No, but they did a good job presenting it. I will give them credit for that. They did a good job making their point. They covered all their topics as far as what was the upshot of everything. So I was very happy with the things that Brunswick's doing. I got these little handouts that they gave me. And so this is the first one. It's the Ball Talker card. And one of the big things that they covered in this seminar was that it had that the Fearless with the dot technology and the dynamic core, it had a 4-year warranty. Now, it wasn't extended across their line. It was just with that ball. But the problem that I brought up in the seminar actually was that if you have a 4-year warranty, the cover stock is going to obviously wear out way faster than the ball will actually crack. And that's one of the big things that they covered as well, is that the whole point of the dot technology, not the whole point, but the majority of the point was to prevent cracking. They must have said cracking at least 15, 20 times. Bowling balls are cracking all the time. Bowling balls are cracking all the time. And so this will prevent cracking. And, honestly, with their thicker cover stocks anyway, I mean, if cracking is that big of a problem, at least they did something about it. I will say that. But a 4-year warranty, while I see that that's a great selling point that they can say, hey, this has a 4-year warranty, I just don't see it being practical. I mean, as far as anything goes, I think that the time frame of the ball will, sorry, my dogs are going nuts, but I think that, the cover stock will wear out long before the actual core and, cover, or before the ball cracks. Sorry, my dogs got me distracted like crazy. Anyway, but here's the handout they gave everybody. It says dot, and it explains how everything works. And basically, for most people who don't understand this, I actually have a bowling ball that I'm going to show everyone. It's not the Fearless, but it takes the riser pin with where the low RG axis is, and it puts it on the bottom of the ball, basically 180 degrees around the bottom. So what that'll allow it to do is it basically opens up your drilling area. Your drilling area is now a lot bigger. It's not new in a way, because AMF did it 25 years ago, almost by accident, according to the seminar. But what I will say is that it is different than what we're used to. In plastic balls now, they do have the pin typically on the bottom, but the fact of the matter is that when it comes to plastic balls, I actually brought that up. They said, it just doesn't have a core in it. That's the main thing. It doesn't have a core in it, and the Fearless does. So they started on a symmetrical ball, but basically, I've got a bowling ball here, and I'll show everybody. So this is a Rhino, and you have to have, according to the drill specs, an inch diameter, otherwise, away from the pin. Otherwise, they will say that it's out of warranty or it voids the warranty. Well, to give you an idea, an inch is about this wide right here. So essentially, if you've got a bowling ball that's drilled within that circle, then your bowling ball is probably void of warranty. Now that may sound insane, and it kind of is, but the fact of the matter is, what they're basically arguing is that weakest spot on the ball, and, if you drill anything within an inch of that, you run the risk of cracking. They took the pin basically here, and they basically, I'll just draw the line, it went all the way over around to here, and it's 180 degrees. That's probably not 180. Don't bust my balls because of the simple fact that I didn't draw the way around, but it's basically down here somewhere. Okay, now they still mark it with a dot, just like that, and, make it so that you can, know where it's at. That's the big thing. They want you to at least, know where it would be, but it allows you to have a bigger drilling area. And I was very impressed with the fact that at least somebody was trying something. I mean, even if it's nothing totally new, at least they did something. They were trying something. If it works out and it seems like it's going to, good for them. They have it's patent pending. Good for them. For those of you that were watching the fall swing, I saw that EJ, and most of you probably saw EJ won Bear, and Stu finished second. And then on Wolf, that Anthony won, and Andrew Anderson finished second. But, Chris Prather and Andrew Anderson had a really good couple of events. Andrew Anderson had a second place and looks like a third or fourth there. But what got my attention was the fact that I know that these aren't major events and that they're not televised on Fox or anything like that. And I'm glad that they have the events, but with first place only paying $10,000, I know they want this to be a huge deal, and I know they want it to be a bigger field, have the better players and whatnot. But man, if you think about a guy like Belmo who comes over, or some of these guys from overseas, if they were to come over and have a bad fall swing, God, I mean, you talk about a lot of money spent for nothing if they don't make it back. That could really end up being a big loss for some of those guys. But the other thing that I was going to say is I was reading on Flow Bowling something about what Joey Pants said. According to the article I was reading on Flow, he's a proud one-handed bowler. But this cracks me up because he said, he had no crutch arm necessary. Taking his little swipe at two-handers. And, I'm not a two-hander or anything, but what kills me about that is the fact that he says that no crutch arm is necessary. Best bowler in the world right now is two-handed. So how many people really know who Joey Pants is compared to Jason Belmonte? And it's not that I want to say, that Belmo doesn't have his flaws, but he got an entire generation hooked on bowling two-handed. So I think that maybe Joey Pants might actually need a crutch arm. It may be necessary. If he had one, he might win more. I'm just throwing that out there. And, it's nothing against him. If he wants to, have his opinion, that's fine. But, you can't knock on people for simply, having their own style. It's not like Belmo or Oscar or any of those guys woke up one day and was like, you know what, I think I'm going to use an extra hand today. So it is what it is. But, the seminar went well. I had a comment that was posed to me the other day, and I wanted to read this. And some of these comments that I get from you guys are hilarious. And most of them are really nice, and most of them are really good. But I had this one that was sent to me, and I can't help but laugh whenever I get a comment and people are assholes. And if in case you haven't noticed, I'm trying to be more, well, quite frankly, I'm trying to be nicer. I'm trying to be a nicer person just because of the simple fact that, if there was a kid watching or if somebody doesn't understand, I'm trying not to swear as much, but I'm failing at it. Not as bad, but I am still failing at it. But anyway, so when I get these comments, my first reaction of anybody who knows me is to just go off, just like be like, you know what, F you, you this, that, and the other. That's my first reaction. And it's usually the one that I would typically go with. I like that one. But I'm trying to be, nicer, and it is really hard to ignore these. But this one just makes me laugh. So I got this from a guy, and his comment to me was, Ryan Squires, and he tagged me in it to make sure I would get it. Queen of bitches. First of all, let me start with that. If that was the case, there's worse things you could be that's fine. Send them my way. You give people your opinion when in bowling, options are like assholes. Everyone has one. Not bowling opinions. He said bowling options. Then he followed it up because I didn't respond. He follows it up. That was 2 weeks ago. He follows it up this week. Ryan Squires, you're the dumbass thinking a podcast is the answer to bowling. You are probably hurting and confusing more than helping. Pass on the reality of bowling. No one else is with you, so give advice on how dumbass bowling centers are catering to moonlight madness instead of true tournament and league bowlers. So, one thing I can tell you right from the get-go, this person has bad grammar, or they can't spell. But there's so much wrong with that. If you've watched anything I say, simply based on the fact that when I'm in my bowling center, I'm pretty sure those, as they said, Moonlight Madness bowlers, they pay pretty well. They buy a lot of beer. They buy a lot of food. They come in and they have fun and they don't complain. I bet this guy complains. I bet he complains a lot. And, on top of that, while I've always argued that league bowling is important, and particularly Monday through Thursday. But on Friday and Saturday, you can't fault a bowling center owner for catering to the open bowling crowd, for catering to those that are making them a lot of money. It just so happens that in most places with climates that cool down, the bowling center is getting just as much business in the cold as the leagues are. The leagues are competing at the same time as they're trying to bring in all their business. So it's a tough give and take. But I can promise you, if that's one of my league bowlers, I am probably going to take the open bowler all day, one. And number two, that guy, I got to tell you, it's like talking to a wall, because you can't explain what it is I'm trying to explain here and tell these people if they're just not even going to bother to listen. They're not even going to bother to try. The fact of the matter is that bowling has changed, and it's going to continue to change. And these people like that, they're not changing. They're getting angry. They think that it's going to go back to the way it was, back to the good old days. And it's not going to, Thanks, Chris. I had to laugh because I sat down on Wednesday. I put the video up with me and Mike Riggins, and a little bit of history there. Mike and I, we had the pro shop that my dad owned and the one that Riggins has in Anderson. They competed against each other constantly. They weren't too far apart and never really got along at all. And then at some point, not too long ago, probably 5-7 years ago, 10 years ago maybe, got to talking to each other and really got to know each other. And I got to tell you, he was great. I don't know if you watched the video, but he did a great job. And I talked to him about it, and he's really wanting to come on and do some more videos. And I more than welcome that, because you're not going to find anybody who really has had the experience. He used to have a huge shop, a huge pro shop. And with the articles in Bowler's Journal, with everything that he was able to share, the biggest thing that I always try to tell people is, remember, this podcast can be for anybody. It can be for a pro shop operator. It can be for a league bowler, but it doesn't have to be a scratch bowler. It can be a bowler who averages 150. And that's really who I want to go after, simply because of the fact that those 150 average bowlers, they may want to learn. Like I said in the video, they want to learn, but nobody's catering to them. and nobody is really helping him out. And so, when you watch any of these videos, especially with the one with Mike, a lot of times, do I know the answer to the questions that I'm asking? Are you sitting, yeah, probably, most of them. And, there's people that are sitting there going, how's this guy doing a podcast when he asked this dumbass question? Well, the fact is I asked that question even if I know the answer, because not everybody knows that answer. And that's something that I think is often overlooked, particularly by individuals who, who don't think about the other people who may not know. So I got to thank Mike for doing that. He did a great job. Like I said, he's going to come back on and do some more. I encourage you to check it out if you didn't already. My dad was on there as well, and he did an awesome job. There is nobody in my mind that knows more about merchandising than my dad does, especially in the pro shop, because he did it for 30, 40 years at his day job. And I got to tell you, when it comes to merchandising, when it comes to selecting the right product, when it comes to picking what sells, when it comes to all that stuff, man, the knowledge is vast. I can tell you that much. So I appreciate them coming on and doing that. It was definitely a real help. And I hope everybody watched it and liked it. The views have been crazy outrageous. There's been a ton of them. But I definitely thank everybody for doing that. Next week, I'm going to do the Big Shop, Little Shop episode. I also have I have a ton of clips from the other that didn't make it into the cut for the video on Wednesday. So I'm going to put those in a video next Wednesday. But yeah, there's a ton of clips. I want to cover some more stuff. I'm going to meet up with Mike again next week, and we're going to go over a few different things. But like I said, I just wanted to cover the dynamic core and, kind of explain, or not dynamic core, but the dot, and kind of explain what it was, what they covered in the seminar. Like I said, they did a good job. It's supposed to just prevent cracking, make the ball crack less. So, 4-year warranty, even if you don't need it. But like I said, check out that video. I'm working on not only the website, but I'm working on the actual Facebook page and getting all that together. So make sure to share, like, all that shit. But do all that, and I will see everybody on Monday, Wednesday, Friday next week, 5 p.m. Eastern time. And I got some cool stuff that I'll share with you and show you. And keep an eye out as I've been posting more and more stuff and building the pages up. I'll actually start posting more and more regular stuff. I've been doing some writing and all that. So, even, I hate to tell this guy, even though my podcast doesn't help and it's not doing anything, and, I'm a dumbass, this dumbass is going to have a good weekend, and I hope you do too. Check out the video. Thank Mike Riggins. Thank, you can just thank me for my dad, because he doesn't have Facebook. But, thank them. They are a wealth of knowledge, and go bowling this weekend. Have a good one, and I will see you on Monday at 5. Thanks, guys.